Okay, guys, we're going to do a little bit more with box and whisker plots today. So I'm first going to start off with just looking at a box and whisker plot and helping you analyze the box and whisker plot. I also have this tool that I'm going to try today where I'm writing. It's going to be probably a little bit messy, but I think you guys might get something out of me actually doing some writing. I'm going to actually shrink this down a little bit so I can write some stuff, give me more room to write. Okay. The first thing that I want you to notice here is the median. The median, let's see if I can get my tool to work. Oh, okay. The median is right here. I'm going to put an M here. It's that very middle dot. The next thing I want you to notice is that there's actually 5 different dots. You've got this one down here on the very, very low part, and then you've got this one up here on the high part. We've got the dot in the middle, which is the median, and then we've got a dot in between the low and the middle, and we've got a dot in between the middle and the high. Okay, so those are my different dots. Those are my 5 different data points. And the most important one I'm going to say is the median. It's that middle one first. Okay. We also want to look at how our data is ranging. Okay, so we call this data our lower extreme. It's the lowest number in our set of data. And we call this our upper extreme. And it's the highest number in our set of data. And then we've got these 2 dots in between. This one here is the middle between the low and the mid. So it's between the lowest point and the middle point, and it's called the lower quartile. Okay, and then we've got this, which is the middle of the upper. So it's right in between the median and the upper extreme. So we're going to call this the upper quartile. Okay, what I want you to notice is that your data is actually separated into 4 sections. When I have these 5 different spots, I actually separate my data into 4 sections. I'm going to do this. I'm going to highlight the 4 sections. Okay. So I've got one section, that should be little. One section is from here to here. That's 1/4 of the data. And then I've got another section between here and here. That's 1/4 of the data. And then I've got another section between here and here. That's 1/4 of the data. And then I've got another section, what color do I want to use? Orange, between here and here, and that's 1/4 of the data. Okay, so it does look like the sections aren't necessarily the same size, but they actually have the same amount of data. The part that I want to point out to you is the box in the middle. The box in the middle, right in here, actually has 1/4 of the data in the lower part of the box and 1/4 of the data in the upper half of the box. So the box actually represents half of the data because 1/4 and 1/4 is actually equal to 1/2. So that's something really important that I want you to get out of this, is that the box and whisker plot inside the box is half the data. Below the box is 1/4 of the data, and above the box is 1/4 of the data. I also want you to recognize, I'm going to back all this up. I also want you to recognize that there are actually numbers on the number line that aren't part of the data. We actually drew our number line so it could be like a real number line, but our number line our numbers don't actually go all the way down to 12 or all the way up to 28. It doesn't even look like they go all the way to 26. But you have to set up an actual number line when you're making your box and whisker plot You can't just set up random points, okay? All right, so let's make one. Okay, this is some data. I don't know what this data would represent. Maybe it's the number of flowers in your spring garden. Wouldn't that be lovely? Okay, so the very first thing we want to do, I'm actually going to type this out. We first want to look at the range of data, and it will help us figure out how we're going to set up our number line. Okay, so my biggest number I see is 35. And the smallest number I see is 23. So I can subtract those and I get 12. And so I want to make sure that my number line will have enough room for 12 numbers, okay? And I want it to go from 23 all the way up to 35. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is make my number line. I'm not starting my number line at 0. I don't need to do that. But if I need it to go from 23 to 35, maybe I should actually start it at 20. What do you think about starting it at 20? I'm going to do this. Okay, so over here, I'm going to say that this is 20. And I want it to go all the way up to 35. So maybe I could go by twos. 2, let's see. I guess I could go by 1, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. So it's a piece of a number line, but it's a real number line. Everything is spaced out correctly. Okay, now I want to do my first thing, and I want to put these numbers in order. Okay, so to find my median, I'm going to need to put the numbers in order. So I'm looking, and we already decided that the smallest number is 24. So I'm going to mark off 24 and I'm going to put it on my list. And then I've got not 24, I meant 23. 23 goes here. And then I see a 26 and a 29. Okay, and then I've got a 31. Actually, I've got two 31s. And then I've got a 33 and a 35. And I think I have 8 pieces of data. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I've got 8 pieces of data. Now I want to find the median. Since there's 8 pieces of data, there's not a number in the middle, but right in between these two, it splits it, right? There's 4 pieces of data going this way, and there's 4 pieces of data going this way. So the number that would come between 29 and 31 would be 30, and so 30 is going to be my median. I can actually go ahead and go over to 30 and I can draw my line for my median, okay? Now I want to look at my numbers from 31 to 35, and I want to find the middle of the upper half of the data. So this is the upper half, and the middle of the upper half is going to come right in here. What number comes between 31 and 33? Well, if I didn't know, I could get out my calculator and do 31 plus 33, and I could divide by 2, and I get that the answer is 32. But I think for the most part, you could probably look at this and tell that 32 would come in between. This is called my upper quartile. Okay, now we're going to do it for the lower half. Let's find the middle of the lower half of the data. Oh, there, my middle's going to be right in there. Can you figure out what number comes between 24 and 25? That's going to be, 24 and 26 would be 25. That's my lower quartile. And then I've got my lower extreme and my upper extreme. Okay. Now all I have to do is draw the rest of my box and my whiskers. So I've got 30 at my median. I've got 25 at my lower quartile and 32 at my upper quartile. And I can draw my box. And then my whiskers go from 35 to 23, 21, 22, 23. And now I've got my box. Now what I want you to recognize is that it doesn't necessarily look balanced, but if you look up here, you can very clearly tell that you have, let's do pink, that you have 2 pieces of data here, 2 pieces of data here, 2 pieces of data here, and 2 pieces of data here. So these 2 pieces of data are actually located from this lower dot to the lower quartile. These 2 are actually located, whoa, they're really far apart from here to here. This piece is in here. Those 2 are really close together because of the same number. And then this piece is inside here. And so what I want you to recognize is that this part is only 2 pieces, but it's a fourth of the data. And inside this box is another fourth of the data. And inside this box is another fourth of the data. And inside this box, or I'm sorry, this upper part of it's outside the box, is another fourth of the data. So what I want you to recognize is that inside the box is a fourth plus another fourth. And a fourth plus a fourth is 2/4. And 2/4 is half. So half of the data is actually located inside the box. Now let's just look at our box and whisker plot without all the markings on it. I'm gonna erase these extra markings. And that's just what our box and whisker plot should look like. I hope that explains some stuff for you and that you guys have some luck on your homework.